Everyone believed he was just a lonely orphan, but the truth was far more extraordinary. Zaken, the unassuming, brown-haired man, was the strongest archdemon in existence, destined to marry a stunning white elf. But let's rewind to where it all began. The story kicks off in the shadowy woods, where a knight corners a terrified woman, knife in hand. She screams, slaps at him in desperation, and, horror of horrors, his face peels off like a mask, revealing raw, crimson flesh beneath. The knight, now exposed as a sorcerer, confesses his vile plan. He needs her face for a dark spell. Just as he raises his blade, a figure emerges from the shadows. It's Zaken, who grabs the sorcerer by the head and coldly demands, "Who are you?" The sorcerer stammers, realizing he's trespassed on Zaken's territory. He tries to bargain, offering secrets of forbidden magic, but Zaken isn't interested. With a brutal squeeze, he crushes the sorcerer's skull, splattering blood everywhere. The girl faints from the shock, and Zaken, realizing he's gone too far, cleans up the scene with magic, erasing all traces of the gruesome event. But trouble isn't over. Zaken notices the girl's cross necklace. She's from the church, the sworn enemy of sorcerers. Despite saving her, he knows he could be blamed. Determined to avoid drama, he attempts to teleport her to safety, but his magic falters. Enter Barb, another powerful sorcerer, who questions Zaken's actions. Barb sees the girl's immense mana and suggests using her for their own gain, but Zaken refuses, sticking to his moral code. He finally sends her away, hoping she'll wake up thinking it was all a nightmare. Barb, however, has bigger news. One of the 13 archdemons, Marco, has died after 1,000 years of reign. His possessions are up for auction, and Barb convinces Zaken to join him in Kinoids, the bustling city in the archdemon's territory. Reluctantly, Zaken agrees, knowing Barb's true motive is to leech off his wealth. The city is alive with chaos. Sorcerers, merchants, and slaves fill the streets, while rumors swirl of sorcerers abducting mana-rich girls for sinister purposes. Zaken suspects a larger, darker plot at play. At the auction hall, the tension is palpable. The crowd buzzes with greed as rare artifacts go up for bid. Zaken, though annoyed by Barb's presence, can't ignore the gravity of the situation. Something big is brewing, and he's about to be at the center of it all. Barb points out they're surrounded by a glittering crowd of celebrities, including some of the most powerful sorcerers vying for the late Marco's archdemon seat. Zaken, curious, asks how successors are chosen. Barb explains it's a debate among the remaining 12 archdemons, who'll decide the worthiest candidate. The auction crescendos as the moderator unveils the final item, a purebred elf, a rare magical race closer to gods than humans. Zaken is instantly captivated by her ethereal beauty, his heart racing as the bidding begins. When the moderator starts at 10,000, Zaken stuns everyone, including Barb, by bidding 1 million. Barb, alarmed, questions his motives, but Zaken's unsettling smile leaves her uneasy. Zaken approaches the elf, noticing a chain around her neck. The moderator explains it's to prevent her escape, as no one has ever broken the collar. Later, in the depths of Zaken's forest castle, he attempts to converse with her, but his social awkwardness betrays him. Thankfully, the elf, introducing herself as Nefi, speaks first, her voice sweet, yet tinged with sorrow. She asks how she'll die, assuming the worst. Zaken, horrified, reassures her he has no intention of harming her. Embarrassed by the torture devices left by the castle's previous owner, he claims they're mere decorations. Nefi, a self-proclaimed cursed orphan, remains skeptical, having been raised to believe her fate was sacrifice. Zaken, reminded of his own harsh childhood, grows sympathetic. He tells her he needs her alive, a statement that shocks her. No one has ever needed her before. As they explore the castle, misunderstandings abound. Nefi misinterprets Zaken's intentions, offering her head for execution, while Zaken grows increasingly frustrated by her grim assumptions. When they reach a tower room filled with macabre relics, Zaken destroys them in a burst of energy, leaving the space empty. Nefi, for the first time, shows interest as she gazes at the moon from the balcony. Their bond begins to form, though the night is restless. Nefi, unable to sleep in her inhospitable room, rests by Zaken's throne, while Zaken lies awake, nervous from their proximity. By morning, Zaken fetches breakfast, and Nefi greets him warmly, folding the cape she used as a blanket. Zaken, a brooding and socially awkward archdemon, finds himself in an unexpected situation when Nefi, a fellow member of the floor gang, greets him for the first time. Caught off guard, he responds with a scowl, muttering about having food, and instantly regrets his tone. The two sit down to eat, but Zakin's mind spirals into self-loathing, convinced he's a failure. Nefi, noticing they're eating the same plain meal slave rations, essentially asks him about it. This triggers a painful memory for Zakin. As an orphan, this meager fare was all he could afford, and he wonders what normal people even eat. Just as he's sinking deeper into despair, Nefi offers to cook for him. The idea of an anime waifu cooking for him is so surreal that Zakin snaps into action, donning his cape and declaring they're heading to town for groceries. But reality hits hard when he realizes he's broke. Every penny went into buying Nefi. Forced to improvise, he insists they walk, all while scheming ways to get money, even considering threatening the Uber driver. Their journey takes a dramatic turn when they stumble upon robbers attacking an Uber driver and passengers. Nefi's PTSD flares up, likely from her own enslavement, and Zakin decides to show her how cringe robbers are. With a flash of lightning, he scares the goons, effortlessly disarming a fat axe wielder and sending the thugs running. A sorcerer emerges, trying to intimidate Zakin with fiery magic, but the archdemon casually nullifies the spell and obliterates the sorcerer's defenses with a single, devastating lightning blast. The robbers flee in terror, and the rescued passengers shower Nefi with gratitude, mistaking her for their savior. A furry passenger even hands Zakin a bag of silver coins, asking for his protection. Zakin is stunned. He's never been thanked, let alone paid. He realizes it's all because of Nefi's presence, which makes him seem less intimidating. As they continue to town, Nefi asks why he helps people. Zakin, trying to sound cool, fumbles his words and embarrasses himself yet again. Upon arrival, he's clueless about what to buy for Nefi, but he spots a tailor's shop and drags her inside. The furry shopkeeper is terrified of Zakin but mesmerized by Nefi's beauty, until he notices the slave collar around her neck. The furry tailor, acting overly cheerful, whisks Nefi into the changing room and dresses her in a scandalously skimpy outfit, one that eerily resembles what Zakin's ex once wore to meet her guy best friends. Mortified, Zakin threatens to burn the shop down if the tailor doesn't clothe her properly. The furry quickly complies, returning with Nefi in an elegant maid's outfit made of high-quality silk, complete with healing boots. For the first time, Nefi admits she likes the dress, and Zakin feels a flicker of pride. Next, they visit a blacksmith to address Nefi's slave collar. The smith, initially terrified of Zakin, softens upon seeing Nefi. He examines the collar and warns that its powerful magic makes removal risky without the original key. Zakin recalls even the auction moderator lacked the key, realizing this will be a challenge. The smith refuses payment, reminiscing about how Zakin once saved him from robbers. Though touched, Zakin brushes it off, and they leave. By evening, Zakin takes Nefi to a restaurant, a first for both of them. Nefi is visibly uncomfortable, admitting she's never dined like this. Zakin relates to her struggles, having grown up similarly. As they share food, feeding each other like love-struck teens, the other patrons laugh, making them self-conscious. They quickly leave, heading back to the castle. The next morning, Zakin is stunned to find the dining hall transformed from a graveyard-like mess into a fairy tale setting, thanks to Nefi's efforts. A fresh loaf of bread awaits him. Nefi baked it herself. Overwhelmed with gratitude, Zakin insists she join him at the table. When she hesitates, he playfully suggests she sit on his lap. Blushing, she complies, and they share a tender moment, feeding each other and promising to eat together from now on. Days later, Zakin delves into studying magic, attempting to teach Nefi the basics. Despite her immense mana, she claims she can't use sorcery. Zakin finds this odd but patiently guides her, explaining how magic circles work and the dynamics of mana control. Meanwhile, trouble brews when a paladin confronts Zakin, accusing him of tormenting his enemies instead of killing them. Zakin argues that fear is a more effective deterrent than death, but the paladin sees through his bluff. She attacks, slashing through his magic circle with surprising strength, forcing Zakin to rethink his strategy. The paladin charges at Zakin, her attacks relentless, but he dodges with ease, calling her out for using her powers indiscriminately to kill sorcerers, innocent or not. In a surprising twist, she disarms him and flings him toward a tree, injuring him. As Zakin regains his footing, she whispers urgently, urging him to fake his death. If he doesn't, the church will send stronger paladins after him, and neither of them will know peace. Zakin questions her motives, but she reminds him that he spared her men and saved her life once. Reluctantly, he agrees, realizing the stakes for both of them. Just as the tension peaks, Nephi arrives. The paladin's revelation about mysticism, a power that defies the laws of magic, catches Zakin off guard. Nephi explains that she's the only elf cursed with this ability, marked by her white hair and ability to communicate with animals and trees. Shunned as a freak, she was hated by her village. When attackers came, the villagers begged her to defend them, but she refused, feeling a twisted satisfaction as her tormentors were slaughtered. Overwhelmed with guilt, she breaks down, calling herself a monster for feeling this way. But Zakin surprises her. Instead of condemning her, he praises her resilience, admitting that he would have killed both the villagers and the attackers himself. He reassures her that she'll always have a place by his side, joking that he can't live without her cooking anymore. Nephi, moved to tears, finds solace in his acceptance. Later, as they sit together, Nephi notices Zakin's injured hands and offers him a place to sleep. Innocently, she suggests sharing the castle's only bed, unaware of the implications. Zakin, touched by her purity, explains that he stays awake on his throne to maintain the castle's defenses. Sensing his exhaustion, Nephi offers him a lap pillow, a gesture so kind that Zakin can't refuse. As he rests his head on her lap, he asks why she's so good to him. She replies that his acceptance of her cursed existence and mystic powers means everything to her. In a heartfelt moment, Zakin offers to teach her magic, hoping it will help her control her mystic abilities and defend herself. Though he can't promise it'll fully unlock her potential, he believes it's a start. Nephi, eager to protect him as he's protected her, agrees. When Zakin admits she already saved him from the church's knights, she hugs him tightly, overwhelmed with gratitude. Tears well up in Zakin's eyes, a rare display of vulnerability from one of the world's strongest demons. In that moment, he realizes how much it means to have someone who truly cares for him. The next morning, as Zakin sips his tea, Barb barges in, asking if he's all right after hearing about the knight's attack. Barb mentions the sacred sword one of them wielded, and Zakin confirms it was the paladin girl who destroyed several of the castle's barriers. Instead of killing her, Zakin took her as an apprentice, a decision that surprises Barb. Sitting down, Barb muses that with an elf like Nephi by his side, Zakin could potentially master every form of magic. Zakin, annoyed by Barb's objectification of Nephi, sharply corrects him, emphasizing that Nephi is not a tool, but a person. When Barb probes further, Zakin admits he's uninterested in the political games of sorcerers, especially the race for the archdemon title. He knows he's at a disadvantage, having only studied magic for a decade compared to others who've spent centuries mastering it. Barb eventually leaves, and Nephi asks if he's Zakin's friend. Zakin denies it, but Nephi insists he seemed to enjoy their conversation. Later, Zakin takes Nephi to repair the damaged barriers, hoping she'll learn from the process. As they work, the old archdemon warns Zakin to tread carefully, reminding him that crossing certain lines could cost him everything he holds dear. Zakin's thoughts immediately turn to Nephi, realizing he can't risk her safety. He grapples with the reality that a normal life is impossible for him, and becoming an archdemon would plunge him into darkness, a path he doesn't want Nephi to suffer through. When the old archdemons press him for a decision, Zakin demands not just the title, but also the possessions of the previous archdemon. The sorcerers agree, presenting him with a crest. As Zakin accepts, he's haunted by the memory of promising Nephi he'd never leave her, only to cast her out like a stray dog. Meanwhile, Nephi wanders the streets, lost and heartbroken. A kind bird woman named Manuela and the paladin, Chastel, find her and take her to a tavern. There, Nephi breaks down, confessing that Zakin kicked her out after becoming an archdemon. Chastel and Manuela comfort her, shocked by the news. They explain that the town was once governed by the 13th archdemon, a decent ruler, but after his death, chaos ensued, with sorcerers kidnapping girls for sacrifices. Nephi defends Zakin, insisting he's not like the others, but Manuela questions what led to her expulsion. Nephi reveals Zakin's transformation into an archdemon, a revelation that stuns both women. As they discuss the town's plight, Zakin wrestles with his guilt, realizing Nephi's unwavering loyalty even after he betrayed her. He looks down, admitting to himself that every sorcerer is selfish, and he's no exception. That is why he will find Nephi and get her back. She belongs to him and no one else. He vows to make sure that she is safe and gaining all the power he needs. Nephi opens her mouth and tells him that all his planning will be in vain because Zakin has already become the 13th archdemon. This shocks Barb, who gets pissed at the fact that even this thing that he so desired got stolen by Zakin. He angrily grabs Nephi and drags her towards a magic circle, claiming that he will gain so much power after sacrificing both of them that he will become even stronger than Zakin and crush him. He starts dragging her once again, but Nephi fights back and claims that she belongs to Zakin and is not to be. Suddenly, a hole is blown through the cave as Zakin emerges from the dust. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe for part 6, and make sure to check out this brand new anime about a loser who gets reincarnated as a prince with godly abilities.